to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. I am Blake Harrison and this is Stuart Whiffen. I am also doing an impression of Dricus Duplessis. Can you tell? It's me, Dricus, and I have big, white, amazing, pale pecs, and I'm the middleweight champ of the world. That was good, wasn't it?
You sounded like Borat.
Oh, well, if you can't tell, we're a little bit mental. We've tried this once already. There were some technical difficulties, and I just thought I'd fuck about for a bit. But it looks like this might work. So that's the intro to the show. Let's move on to the sponsors. I really thought something else was going to go wrong, so I was just messing about. So our first sponsor is Ferocious Fightwear, and if you are someone that does a bit of jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai, then you might want some hand wraps, gum shield, maybe a rash guard, a pair of shorts, and that's what they do for you. Some very, very, very nice ones, as you can see laid out on the table in front of us. Or if you're just listening, go on their website, ferociousfightwear.com, and you can check out their wares. And if you do that and you want to get some clobber, we've got a discount code for you. MMA Fan Show 15 will get you a discount on whatever you buy from their website. And if you're not a fighter, maybe you just want to go to a fancy dress party and wear wraps and a gum shield. Or maybe you could just check out them on Instagram, give them a like, follow, show them a bit of love, because they show us a bit of love. And our second sponsor...
That's a good chat. And like, if you are going to a fancy dress party and you can't fight your way out of a paper bag, go dressed as a really dangerous fighter, and then no one will mess with you.
Yeah, that's true.
Put a gum shield in as well, just in case someone takes a chance.
And if you want to go to a fancy dress party dressed as Dricus Duplessis, I will be taking clients on with my accent coaching that's clearly very, very good.
Yeah. You're an actual actor, aren't you?
All right. Our second sponsor is Fat Candy, and they do these delicious freeze-dried sweets. The Skittles are my favourites. They are delicious. They got us into trouble the last time we were in the studio because Stu Whiffen, I mean, he's doing it again right now.
I think the problem is, it's just what?
No one wants to hear you with food in your mouth. It's absolutely disgusting, and we got in trouble for that. There was a few fans of the show that were very upset with Stu, and a little bit me as well, for eating during the show. But they are very Moorish and very delicious.
Really,
so get yourself over to Fat Candy, and you can get another bit of discount from us here, because we love to spoil you. Sweet MMA, that's SWEET MMA, and you'll get a discount on your freeze-dried sweets. Definitely try the Skittles.
And go give both the followers, both the sponsors a follow on the socials. They'll be tagged in all of the posts on Instagram. So just give them a little sponsor as a way of saying thanks for backing this show and us keeping this show free for all of you to enjoy. Anyway.
Right, on with the show.
Was you doing Dricus again then?
I'm trying to do Dricus, yeah.
Well, obviously, we're here to talk about Dricus and his spectacular win at the weekend, which was all part of the UFC 305 card that went down in Western Australia, Perth to be specific. Look, I want to start at the very top. Should we start with a bit like the big boys? Should we start with Izzy and Dricus?
Oh, of course. I don't think there's anywhere else to begin. I mean... The build-up was interesting, wasn't it? Because we sort of stayed away, thankfully, it sort of stayed away from a lot of the race stuff, which was, I thought, really good and really important. I was glad that we didn't go down that route. But Izzy still got incredibly emotional. At the did you see that at the press conference where he started crying and stuff? And I don't fully understand why he started being like, "I'll fight for my family forever." And was it just the emotions of the occasion? Was he concerned that this is now sort of he can feel himself tailing off as a fighter? I don't know where that emotion came from. The fight itself, I thought he looked great in, but, to be honest. But
I thought he was looking better as it went on.
Yes,
and then, well,
yeah. But I don't know where the emotion came from exactly in the pre-fight press conference. I'm not sure what was going on there, but clearly it was a lot with him. People making a big deal of Dricus in press conference because Sean Strickland, after a press conference or interaction with DDP, he went on, was it Theo Vaughan's show or something out like that? Started talking about, obviously, his history, the abuse he'd suffered as a child, got very emotional on there. Izzy now, and people are making some kind of leap to say, oh man, Dricus in press conference, his mental warfare game was. I don't think it's that at all. I think Izzy is a guy that wears his heart on his sleeve. He can be an emotional guy. And Sean Strickland, you're dealing with someone that's, suffered a lot of trauma and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think Dricus is some kind of mental warfare wizard. I don't think he's Conor McGregor or anything like that.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I just think we just got a very emotional Izzy. She said he does wear his heart on his sleeve. He seemed fired up, and I thought that was going to bring maybe a more exciting first few rounds, like from Izzy. I didn't. Okay. Well, look,
I thought it was pretty. I think this is one of the best Izzy's we've seen in a long time. No, yeah. I woke up in the morning, but I felt like the one thing that really got me before we actually get into the actual fight, the one thing that I really took note of was how just unbelievably excited and relaxed Dricus looked.
He was enjoying it.
He was enjoying the walkout. He was enjoying the booze. There was actually a decent sized South African crowd there, it seemed, as well. So he was getting a little bit of a cheer as well. But he was just enjoying all of it. Like, he was down there totally relaxed. And he looked excited to get in the octagon. And that immediately made me go, Jesus, that is... like, what a mentality to have going into this. And I think, we saw some other crazy stuff on all like the UFC countdowns and embeddeds and stuff of like his team and how they operate and the fact that their coach has got a cattle prod and he's zapping them, which is mental.
Yeah, I'm not down with that.
But, it seems to be working. I suppose he's like, I get to go in the cage. The coach can't reach me with a cattle prod today. I'm really excited.
Well, look, let's talk about the fight itself, because I thought, how many rounds did you give Izzy?
So the way I scored it was, I think rounds 1 and 2 for me maybe could go either. I'm trying to remember now, but I gave both.
I thought the first round was really close. I gave the second to Dricus.
Yeah, so I gave both those rounds to Dricus. And I think, the second one was where he sort of got him down, wasn't it? And he was like threatening the rear naked choke. So that was Dricus's round from what I remember. Round 1, I remember being very, very tight, and I think you can give it either way. I did lean towards Dricus, but I've got no problem if you gave it to Izzy. Then round 3 for me was the clearest round of the bunch, and that was an obvious Izzy round for me. He was ripping the body, and it was really seemed to be working, because there was points in that fight where Dricus seemed like the gas tank was going, maybe because of the body shots and all that stuff, and everything just seemed a little bit sloppy and a bit desperate.
Some of his takedowns in them later rounds looked quite laboured, and he looked like Dricus of old, pre-nose.
Pre-nose
like
John Dricus,
he was blowing.
Yeah.
But can't write him off.
No, man. And I'm starting to wonder if, like, what he's been saying from the off is like, I'm not gassed. I don't know what people are talking about. And I was like, and I wonder if he's just a bit like, with all due respect, he's a bit odd. Like, he's just, the way he fights, the way he looks physically is, to everyone else, it's like, oh, you're exhausted. The technique's gone. Everything's just kind of like blitzing forward and whatever. And not in a kind of technical way or anything like that, just very, very sloppily. But maybe that's just how he fights, and maybe that's working to his advantage, because people find it difficult to deal with him because it's unique. You're probably going to find it very hard to find training partners to emulate DDP because of his unique style that seems to, I don't know why it works or how it works, but it just bloody works. I mean, he's very strong. Clearly hits quite hard.
Can take a shot.
He's durable, very, very durable. He's athletically very gifted. You look at him. I mean, I'm taking a mick at the start of the show about his pecs, but he's in fantastic shape.
Yeah.
And then It gets to round 4, and I thought Izzy was winning round 4.
Yeah, I did.
And then all of a sudden, he just got caught with a shot that seemed to rattle him a little bit. And then he did that weird Max Holloway point to the floor thing, but then didn't stay there.
Yeah.
And then Dricus, again, it was those weird moments of like, the shots that Dricus was hitting him with obviously must have been incredibly hard. But they looked akin to, you know, when like someone's got their back to the fence and someone's trying to take them down and they're just getting up and someone's following them up and just doing that.
Yeah.
Like, punch that seems to be just an arm punch. I don't think you've seen a huge amount in it. But Izzy must have been rocked already or whatever because he ate 2 or 3 of those just by trying to run away from Dricus. And then they sort of fell over together and Dricus immediately got the hooks in. And that was it. And Izzy reckons he made a mistake because Dricus went to the gable grip and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, man, it was, I mean, I did not expect that to happen. First time Israel Adesanya has ever been submitted. And I think this had Israel looked leaps and bounds better than the Israel we saw against Sean Strickland.
Yeah.
So it really, for me, solidifies Dricus as, no, this guy's for real.
Is he, I mean, belt aside, is he the best middleweight in the world at the moment?
I think I have to say yes, because he's beaten all the other good. I mean, I did score Strickland, Dricus for Strickland, but it was incredibly close. I do think he's maybe improving all the time, and he seems to have an underrated, I mean, and slightly mad coach. But it seems like their game planning works. Because what was fascinating about this in the post-fight press conference was how Dricus was saying that he gave Izzy the first kind of like, almost gave him the first 2 minutes of every round. Because he thought we knew Izzy was going to come forward and not do what he did against Strickland. So rather than coming forward as well and both getting tired, I just stood my ground. Izzy would come forward, and then after about 2 minutes, the coach would shout, "Okay, it's time," whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or, "Okay, it's time." And cowbell, just zapping the fence. Oh shit, it's time. And then Dricus just went, "All right, now it's my turn to come forward."
Yeah.
And towards the end of each round, Izzy was like expending more energy than normal because he's gone forward for the first 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then Dricus goes forward and he's really putting it on you and getting you more and more tired and more and more tired. And I thought that was a fascinating game plan. And it's a game plan that clearly worked.
Yeah. Did you think it was a good fight?
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was a great fight. I thought it was, I mean, especially when you get fights like this where there's a build-up of such animosity, when you get two guys that are clearly the best or two of the best in their weight class. You've got a star in Izzy, and you've got unique kind of fight style kind of matchups between the two of them, like what's going to work. I loved it. I thought it was a great fight. Were you less bothered about the fight as a whole?
I stayed up for it.
Yeah. It's more difficult to be excited at 5 a.m. than it is at like 8 a.m. after a sleep.
Mate, it was later than that. The birds were singing. Yeah, I thought it was because I'm so invested in where this fight could, take everything in regards to the division. And obviously, as you say, Izzy's a superstar, and Dricus, continues to do the right thing. And so, yeah, but I don't know. I feel like I wanted more from Izzy. And
interesting. So talk to me more about that.
Because I thought he was going to come out and make a big statement.
Yeah.
Because of the bad blood and I think for the first sort of few rounds, I was thinking, I think Dricus has got that round. And I don't know if Izzy's game plan was to keep working that body, tire him out. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I didn't think I was looking at the best middleweight in the world watching Izzy on Saturday night. And do you think it's a fair enough assumption to say maybe 4 or 5 years ago Izzy was the greatest middleweight on the planet and he's not that fighter anymore?
I think that's very fair to say. I mean, he's 35 years old, but not only that, I heard a stat recently on a different podcast I was listening. I think it was MMA Fighting or something like that, where they were saying Izzy has had 144 sanctioned fights. 144, because he was so prolific with his
That's some miles
kickboxing
on the clock,
career.
isn't it?
I mean, and then some. 144, and that's sanctioned fights, not counting the wars he's had in the gyms with Olberg and Dan Hooker and whoever else might have been there.
Yeah.
I don't know what unsanctioned fights did he have early in his career, stuff like that. Like 144 fights, that is absolutely mental.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy.
Obviously, at 35 years old as a middleweight, you're probably on the way down, but it's not as bad as being a lightweight or featherweight or something like that. But the fact that he's had that many fights, man, your chin's going to go eventually, and maybe that's what we're seeing. I felt like Izzy looked fantastic. I felt like Izzy looked really, really good, and I think it was an Izzy I wish we'd have seen more against, like the Romeros and the Cannoniers and all the fights like that, and the Vittori in the second fight and stuff. But go on, what were you going to say?
I didn't feel like he was going to knock him out at any point.
Yeah, but is that just because Dricus's head is huge?
Yeah, and I think what we're doing, what is
But that's not a slight on Izzy. That's props to Dricus, right?
This is what I'm saying, and I think like there was so much attention on Israel Adesanya on this fight, and I think whilst we're discussing Izzy, we should be putting some more respect on Dricus because
I think people are.
Yeah,
I think people are. I mean, I say that, and we will get round to that, but I had a moment at the end, and maybe this is someone that just doesn't have enough or any real kind of proper fight experience. But do you remember when, the finish didn't look under the chin to me. It looked on the chin.
Okay.
And granted, he was getting it with Izzy flat down and spun him over a bit and all that. So I'm not exactly sure how long the choke was on for. But I feel like the Israel Adesanya, do you remember when he fought Kelvin Gastelum and he came out for that 5th round and he said, "It's okay, I'm prepared to die"? I don't think that Izzy's in there anymore because I think we've seen people in similar situations to that where you
think he quit?
Well, I mean, a tap is a quit, isn't it? That's what it is. But I do think...
You don't think he would have tapped that quickly 4 years ago?
No. I don't.
Controversial, Harrison.
Controversial, I know, and I've not heard anyone else say this, and maybe I'm wrong, but it didn't look under the chin to me, and it didn't look like it was on for absolutely ages. And but I mean, Dricus looks so strong. That is going to absolutely wreck. It's going to, eventually, I suppose he'll break your jaw if he's just leaving it on there like that. But I feel like we've seen people. Was it even on this card? Was it Koulibaly and Ramos, where Koulibaly got out of the? I'm gonna have to check my notes, but someone got out of a rear naked choke, and it was like, how the hell did he get out of that? Yeah, it was Koulibaly Ramos on the prelims, and Koulibaly got out of a rear naked choke. You're like, how? How did you get out of that? We've seen Volk get out of it, and not everyone can be Volk and all that kind of stuff, but. I just thought to myself, Izzy 4 or 5 years ago, I don't know that he would have got out of it, but I don't think he would have tapped as quickly. And maybe that's harsh of me on Izzy, and if it is, I'm sorry. But if you go back and watch it, it just didn't look under the chin to me. It did look relatively quick. And I just feel like, he's a superstar now. He's got lots and lots of money. He's achieved so much. It may not even be a conscious thing, but is there just something even subconscious in you where you're like, that hurts a lot? I don't need to carry on. But I don't know.
I'm loving this.
I didn't think that was that horrible a thing to say, but maybe it's coming
fine.
across
If you
as
thought
bad.
he chickened out, that's absolutely fine. Well, look. So let's look at what's next then, because straight away. Everybody was having a tweet up, weren't they? And I think Strickland chimed in, obviously, as we expected. But Pereira.
Oh, God, yeah.
Mentioned maybe.
He's got one more at 185.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it.
Mate, I am all over that fight. I'm all over that fight.
I don't think it should happen.
We won't go into it on this show too much, but obviously they've just announced that Pereira's going to be fighting Khalil Roundtree, which is a way more exciting fight than Ankalaev, but you got to feel for him, man.
You got to feel for him. Yeah. And I mean, Ankalaev then tweeted. So Pereira tweeted that he's got one more at 185.
Yeah.
So he's thinking maybe he'd drop down after beating Khalil Roundtree. And Ankalaev had a message about like you're such a chicken, and you just avoided me. It's just Pereira is now living rent free in Ankalaev's head because he can just do stuff like that. He's be like, oh no, I want to go up to heavyweight. Oh, maybe I'll go back down to middleweight.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll just take this fight instead. Does Izzy want to come up with complete the trilogy? There's all sorts you can do to just avoid Ankalaev.
I'm sure the UFC looked at that tweet and just thought, if he beats Khalil Roundtree, that's a fucking great fight. Like,
it is. It's a weird booking.
It is a very weird booking. You know, he just popped. I know there was.
Yeah, I mean, we've said on the show, Khalil Roundtree dealt with that situation better than you could ever deal with it.
Absolutely.
That is the best you could deal with that situation.
Yeah.
However, can you reward a guy who's just technically popped, however well they've dealt with it, with a title shot afterwards when they had to be pulled from a sort of contender fight previously? Like, it is a strange booking.
It is. But if you're the UFC, you're like, right, okay, so we could do Pereira Ankalaev or Pereira Dricus du Plessis for the middleweight. Mate, like, Ankalaev literally might want to get a cushion for the chair in that room, mate, because he's going to get piles. He's in there for a long time, man.
My thing is, I think there's enough contenders at middleweight that we don't need Pereira down there. But if they did it, I would love to see it.
I mean, so all right. So okay. So what do you think is next for Dricus?
Right. So in terms of Dricus, who again we need to give him his flowers. He did.
I have. I think he's done really well. Yeah. I mean, it was easy the one that you was really harsh on, man.
Yeah. No, he is. He's oddly good. We don't understand it. It's not a method of fighting you would teach someone, but it works.
Yeah. Well, he's beaten the best.
He's beaten the best, but that's the other thing. Dricus has beaten Sean. He's beaten Rob.
Bobby.
He's beaten Izzy now. So, Imavov's booked to fight someone. Brendan Allen, maybe?
He is.
Yeah. He's booked
is it Vittori? No,
I think it's Brendan Allen. Although Brendan Allen had a big old scuffle with Vittori at a hotel lobby or something.
What was that all about?
I don't know. I don't know what was going on. But yeah, I think I'm going to just look this up now just to make sure that Brendan Allen is booked against Imavov, because I think that is the fight that's happening. Yes, it is. It's happening in September, late September. That's happening on a UFC fight night. I think that Dana's come out and said Sean Strickland is next. He's come out and said unequivocally, Sean is next. I don't like that because Sean's only got one win against Paulo Costa since losing the belt. And he wasn't exactly a long-reigning champion. He lost it in his first title defense. So I think he needs one more for me. Mm-hmm. But it looks like the UFC is just going to make that fight. Rob has beaten Paulo Costa in maybe more exciting fashion than what Strickland did. And he's beaten Aliskerov in an incredible first-round knockout. And now he's still got to fight Khamzat Chimaev. If he beats Khamzat Chimaev, and Dricus said this in the post-fight press conference, he said, I don't know why Strickland would get the fight. If Rob beats Chimaev after everything he's done, he's getting the short straw here if he's not getting the title shot. So I like that from Dricus. That seems like honesty and someone that just wants to defend. It's just honesty.
That's like, well, look, why wouldn't he?
Yeah. So that to me makes sense. But if Khamzat wins,
he's straight.
You got to make it the Khamzat fight. But the problem with Khamzat is there's always so many issues with will he make it to the fight that you've sort of got to be like, if Khamzat beats Rob, you've got to sort of have Strickland as your backup fighter or something like that. And will Dricus be happy with going, I've got to train for one style of fight and then maybe do another style of fight? And
very, very different fighters.
Very different fighters. So I don't know. If I had, my say, genie picks and all that kind of stuff, I would want it to be Khamzat. I love Rob. I don't want to see Rob get beat. He's one of my favourite fighters. But just for the freshness, the interest, just also the answer to the question, how good is Hamzat? Because we've all been saying early on, like during that pandemic era, is like, this guy's could be a 2-weight world champ. This guy's incredible. Oh my God, I've never seen anything like him. To now being like, oh yeah, Hamzat. That guy, yeah. And it's just like, I want to know, how good is he? So, yeah, that's the fight I really want to see, but I do think they're going to make the Strickland fight.
It's a big sell, isn't it, Strickland? Like,
yeah, he's a star. I mean, Hamzat's a star
a...
as well. Problem with Hamzat as well is he's got all these visa issues, doesn't he? So he can't fight in America and stuff like that. So, like, can you have a champion that only fights in, like, Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia? Maybe. But, you know, at least, like, Islam will fight there because he's incredibly popular there, but he can fight Dustin Poirier in wherever, in America or wherever it was, I can't remember. But, you know, it's going to be difficult as a business to go, oh, we've got a guy that can only fight in a certain part of the world.
Well, we've spoke Dricus, so I guess the gloves come off. I did think Izzy might retire on Saturday, and then Dricus even made a comment that if he's about to retire, then, you know, put all the respect on him. And the fact we got there is obviously, you know, the hatchet was buried, and you know, they seemed very respectful of each other.
They did. I liked that.
Yeah,
the fact
absolutely.
at the end, after all the beef, they were respectful of each other. They understood each other. Dricus even said, look, we're not friends. We're not going to be mates, but I respect what you've done in a sport. I think he misconstrued what I was trying to say previously. Or, you know, maybe Dricus just shouldn't have said it, but whatever. But it seems like, as you said, the hatchet's been buried, and I like that. I you know, once the fight is over, unless you're Junior Taffa, then just that's it. Now we're done.
So what's next for Izzy?
So.
Oh, you've got ideas on this, haven't you? Obviously, I know you're not a fan of Izzy because you thought he shit himself and quit.
I'm one of the biggest Izzy fans there is. I love Izzy. I'm
years ago. Nowadays, you're not a fan, are you?
I see it.
Right.
I'm not saying that I see it right. I'm just my eyeballs may not be 2020.
Yeah.
But that's what I felt like I saw.
Sure.
So I think the big question for Izzy is, can Izzy be like a featured fighter on the pay-per-view? Or the co-main on the pay-per-view? Like, can he be that guy and be happy? Because I don't imagine Izzy having the type of run that Anderson Silva or Jose Aldo had, where he was a champ, everyone thought he was one of the best, and then he just becomes a guy that's on cards. I just don't see that happening for Izzy.
Has he had many fights that haven't been championship fights, Izzy?
I mean, not over the last however many years.
They've all been championship fights, haven't they?
Well, once he got to the belt, it was like he got to the belt after I don't know how many fights in the UFC. There was like Brunson and Vittori and a few other fights that he had, Tavares. And then he got to the interim belt against Gastelum. Then it was Rob. Then it was, it's been title fight. I mean, how long ago was that?
Long time ago.
Long time ago, like 6 years, whatever it is. He's only been in title fights, whether it's light heavyweight, this...
It will be weird to see. It'd be weird to see Izzy like headlining a fight night.
I don't think they'll do that.
Or being, on the undercard of a title.
Yeah,
on a title
if
card.
he's like a featured fight, on a pay-per-view.
Just looking at that, like
I mean, I would like to see him fight Strickland again.
Yeah.
I think that'd be interesting to see how that would actually go a second time around. But Strickland's obviously looking up, looking forward. He says he doesn't want to move to 205, is he?
I think that's a good idea.
What, not to move up?
Yes, I don't think
middleweight.
We saw him at 205 and I didn't think it looked great.
Yeah.
I don't think he looks that big.
He looked big. He was bigger apparently. He weighed in bigger for this one. And maybe the weight cut hurt him a little bit more, and that's why he maybe struggled to taking those shots as much. I don't know.
I just look at a Khalil Roundtree or a Rakic, and I just think they're big boys. And
I reckon if Izzy took some time and built up, I would like to see that for him to go up. However,
but time, how long is that going to take him? And like you say, he's 35, and you've already written him off. So it's
you can be older at light heavyweight. It's fine.
Yeah.
But no, I think he probably will stay at middleweight then. It's just, is he going to be the guy to fight the Brendan Allens, the Nasruddin Imovovs? Can you see him just fighting them on a featured fight on a pay-per-view?
Not in a million years. But that's just because what we're so conditioned to seeing him fight
Yeah.
in. You know, the realities are he's not the champ and he's not due a title shot now. So that's all that's there.
If Hamzat loses to Rob, I'd really love to see him fight Hamzat.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in Izzy Rob 3. I'm not interested in that.
No, I don't, you know, we've seen that fight roll out enough, haven't we? And
Can I tell you the one?
I mean, is he potentially BMF material?
I don't know about that. I don't know. That doesn't. And who would he fight for the BMF up at middleweight? So no, I'm not massively interested in that. The thing that I am most excited about the idea of. Have you heard that Yuri Prochazka wants to come down to middleweight?
I haven't. He was there at the weekend, wasn't he?
He was, and I think that was strategic. I think he's trying to get him. I mean, I don't know how he would make middleweight. He'd
have to lose weight.
Oh, yeah, well, very good. I wasn't thinking of that. Yeah, well done, Stu. The oracle of all things.
Yeah, lose weight and maybe just sort of get your trainers to maybe change what you're doing so you can sort of strip that weight off as well.
Eat less. Yeah,
Eat
cut
less.
the hair, mate. No, don't. No, that's the thing. I mean, but genuinely, he doesn't seem like a small light heavyweight. So I don't know how.
Not at all.
He's talked about coming down to middleweight. If he can do it, Israel Adesanya versus Yuri Prochazka. I mean, tell me many fights better than that.
It's pure arcade game.
It's absolutely phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like that would be a 3 or 5 round co-main event to anything.
Yeah.
And it would be better than a lot of title fights you could get.
Yeah.
Yuri Prochazka, Israel Adesanya, if he can make 185. I mean, to be honest, if Izzy was going to go up to 205, I'd like him to fight Yuri up at 205, just because I think stylistically both those guys would be so much fun to watch fight each other. So yeah, that to me is the fight I'd really want to see if Yuri is serious about coming down to middleweight. So I'm going to have to wait and see. Co-main event.
I mean, this was quite, it was a great fight to put on the card because you had your Perth hometown boy in Erceg and obviously Kai France, he's just a legit quality fighter and he
hardest
should have been
puncher at flyweight,
mate,
Kai France.
Hits
I think
like a truck, right? Man. And
we said in the pre-fight show, like, I think Steve maybe could be the better fighter, but you've got to watch out for Kai's power.
Yeah. And, well, we saw it, didn't we?
We absolutely saw it. I mean, that was phenomenal. As the round went on for as long as it did, I thought Steve had the measure of him quite early. I thought, Steve's avoiding anything really coming back his way. He's hitting him with a few strikes here and there. This feels like how I thought the fight would go. Steve's going to just work on him. Might throw in a takedown at some point, but he's just going to box him up a bit.
Boom, right hand.
Oh, my God. Like, was it a right or was it a left?
Wasn't it a right that put him down and then he finished him with ground strikes?
I thought it was a left. I've got to imagine him coming over like that, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But it was, I mean, either way, what power in that strike.
Yeah.
It was almost like a step as he did it as well.
Just mega speed as well.
Yeah, it was just, phenomenal stuff from Kai. And as we've seen with Steve Erceg, a knockout at flyweight can see you get a title shot.
If that was a shot that put him away, it was a left. Did he follow that with a right that put him down?
No, that was the one that put, because he basically threw a combination, but then added a kind of step forward left hand, and that's what put him down, I think.
Yeah.
But it was phenomenal. It's almost like he added a strike at the end of a combo that Steve wasn't expecting, because he slid out the way, chin maybe up a bit too much, and then he got caught. Yeah, I mean, if you threw Kai Kara France into a title shot with Pantoja right now, that wouldn't bother me at all. I'd be perfectly happy with that because as we've seen at flyweight, A, Pantoja's beaten a lot of the top guys there, but B, knockouts matter. Knockouts really, really matter in that division, which is why Steve Erceg got his shot. Really, the person getting the shot should be Muhammad Makayev. That's not going to happen. So outside of that, I believe my call was for Tatsuro Taira to get the title shot, but he's now, I think, booked to fight Brandon Royval. So
that only really... Well, I suppose it's El Barzi, but I'll give it to Kai. I think
they've fought before in the Ultimate Fighter, which doesn't really count for me.
They're both vastly different fighters now.
Yeah. So I think that's it. Yeah, Tatsuro Taira is fighting Brandon Royval in October, so that's still a little way off. So if they want Pantoja to fight in, say, December, it makes sense to me to go, look, off the back of that knockout, just give it to Kai. There's no problem with that. He's ranked 4th. He's just won. And his last loss was a very controversial kind of loss to Amir Albazi, which a lot of people...
Kai won that fight, man.
I thought Kai won that fight, I think, as well, from what I remember. But, I mean, I'd have to rewatch it. I mean, it was close. It wasn't like a robbery or anything from what I remember. But it was... it was definitely a controversial result for a lot of people. And, and Kai Kara-France, I mean, looking at his record now, he was on a 3-fight win streak, then he lost his interim title fight to Brandon Moreno. Then after that, he's got technically a loss to Amir Albazi. So he's only on a 1-fight win, which doesn't sell the title shot that well. But...
Look at the win.
Look at the win, and
look at what else is there in that division. And like you say, the other sort of contenders are tied up in a fight in October, so makes all the sense to me.
I agree. Yeah, there's one other thing that I've heard people talk about, but I don't know enough about him. Kai Asakura in Ryzen is apparently being brought over by the UFC, and a lot of people are saying you could throw him straight into a title shot. I don't know enough about him. I mean, it looks like even in Ryzen, he's only on a 2-fight win streak. So I'd have to go and watch a lot of his fights.
Has he signed a contract with the UFC?
I don't know if he actually has yet, or if he's just...
Maybe he's trying to get out of there now because he's probably going to end up fighting Mohamed Magaev in Ryzen or something.
But no, that's the talk. As far as I'm aware, he's on his way to the UFC from talk I've heard from other people. I mean, and even Kai Kara-France commented on it in the post-fight press conference. He's like, "There's only one Kai in the UFC, and if he wants to come and find out, like, let him come and find out." So you could do Kai v Kai.
So they must be hearing whispers that that there's going to be a lot of hype around this guy coming over. But we've seen it before lots of times where people come into the UFC from other organisations with a lot of hype, and a lot of the times, all of a sudden, them levels become apparent. Yeah. And but then other times, we see them become superstars in the UFC. Exciting. I mean, for Erceg, I think there's still loads and loads of people in that top 10 that he's not fought.
Absolutely.
There's loads of fun fights
There's
there
loads
for him.
of fights. He needs to go on he just needs to take a fight against anyone, win it, and then go on like a 3-4 fight win streak. And then we might see him kind of challenging for a belt again. I do really like him. He's got for me, the kind of unassuming nature of him and everything. I really love that. I really want to see Steve turn a corner and do well and get a title shot again, maybe eventually.
Absolutely. Come on.
Oh my God. This was phenomenal. Gamrot Hooker, I mean, it won fight of the night, rightly so.
Obviously.
I mean, round 1. Yeah. What a round. I mean, we had vicious ground and pound from Gamrot, which is how I thought most of the fight would go. But then Hooker was able to get up, delivered, I think it was a left hook or something at one point, really wobbled Gamrot. I felt like Gamrot still won that round.
Did you think Dan Hooker won the fight?
Yes.
Is that because you love him?
Maybe. But round 2 was Hooker. I think, when Gamrot was hunting for the takedowns, he ate a lot of those elbows. Hooker was not just like throwing them in that you see a lot of fighters do as well. He was like really lining them up and just going smash, and then having another one, and then smash. And to me, that's damaging. That's damaging.
Definitely.
Hooker also had a submission threat at one point with a guillotine. Yeah. So it's like round 2 for me was Hooker. So round 1, just Gamrot because he had the ground and pound and all that, but Hooker did rock him badly in that round as well. Round 2 was Hooker. And then round 3...
Wait. Before round 3, camera in Hooker's corner.
Oh.
Fucking love this shit, man.
Oh, he's just laughing. He's just there laughing.
You would not want to look up, would you, from your side of the octagon and just see some dude over there all of a sudden has got like 40% body coverage in tattoos, which he never had about 6 weeks ago. White hair soaked red in blood, and he's laughing like a maniac, wanting to just go.
He's insane.
Yeah, I love him, man.
He's an insane human being, and I absolutely love him. Round 3. I mean, I tell you what really impressed me was Gamrot pretty much lifted Dan Hooker's leg into the splits at one point.
Yeah. Staying on his
Hooker
foot.
was just hopping back, staying on his feet. Phenomenal balance from Hooker. I did think round 3 was hard to score.
Yeah.
I think if you gave it to Gamrot, fine. I think I leant towards Dan. But, I couldn't tell you exactly why, other than maybe that I love him.
Yeah.
But I think, for me, it was... Round 1 could have gone either way, but I was going for Gamrot. Round 2 was definitely Dan, and round 3 could have gone either way. So... Yeah, so you could feel, if you were a big Gamrot fan, you could feel a bit hard done by, but equally, I don't think there's much in it, and I think MMA won because
100%,
because Dan Hooker ranked 5th in the UFC. I mean, I don't think he's going to ever be champ. I think I can't see him ever being ranked higher than this, really. But what a world that we live in to see Dan Hooker's name in the top 5 of the best, toughest weight class in the whole of MMA.
Yeah.
Dan Hooker, what a career, what a legend. Going forward for Dan, you've got to feel for Gamrot, because at one point he was the backup fighter to Islam versus Oliveira, and then they just went, oh, sorry, Gamrot, you can stay on the sidelines. We'll call Vulcan on 12 days' notice, which is absolutely insane. The poor guy. And now I don't know if he's ever going to get a title shot, because he's got to put a decent win streak together after that loss, I think. In, as we said, the toughest weight class going. Dan Hooker, what do you do with him next?
I'm just looking
for me, there's 2 fights that you're like, oh, I would love to see those, but one of them more than the other.
I'd be up for a rematch with Dustin Poirier.
I heard people talking about that. I think Dustin says he only really wants 1 or 2 more, and I don't see what would tempt Dustin into that fight. Okay. I don't think he wants to make a run at the belt again or anything, so I don't think he wants to go through Dan Hooker again. He's already beaten him once.
Sarukian, I'm not interested in that fight.
No, Sarukian should be going for the belt
at the moment. Anyway, I think he's not going to be looking back. I'm not interested in Benil. I don't want that fight.
You still haven't said the 2 that are up there, and there's one that I prefer.
So, also, it looks like it's pretty much tied up now that. From what I'm reading, that Conor Chandler's not happening.
Oh, really?
I've
been off the socials lately.
Right.
I haven't really been on the socials.
Dana said that Conor's not fighting this year anyway. He said he wants to fight, but it's not this year. Michael Chandler, Dan Hooker.
The rematch.
I'm Dan. So who do you want? Gaethje? Or do you want Oliveira?
Oh, well, they're the 2. They are the 2. That's what you have to give me. You have to give me one of those fights.
Justin Gaethje.
I'm leaning Oliveira.
Why?
Because I think Gaethje might be just too much for him in the strike. I think Gaethje just hits so hard, and I just think Dan Hooker, look, Gamrot is not known for his striking. Look at Hooker's face. Look at his face.
Yeah.
And there was moments where Gamrot seemed to rock him a little bit on the feet. And so you're like, if you fight Justin Gaethje,
Gamrot's striking was good, by the way.
Sorry?
I thought Gamrot's striking was good.
It was better than I've seen it before, and I was surprised. And I don't know whether that's... Yeah, I don't know whether he does that well in his striking against other strikers or not. But for Dan... to fight Charles Oliveira, blonde against blonde, I think that would be a phenomenal, phenomenal fight.
Well,
I really want to see it.
And I also him what he wanted, didn't they? And he just said he wants everything.
He wants everything. He was so happy and excited to win. But that's the one I want to see. I want to see Charles Oliveira. I think that is a matchup where I go, I would favour Charles Oliveira, but there's a world in which Dan wins. Whereas Justin Gaethje, in my opinion, I mean, there's the analogy of fighting Justin Gaethje is like being in a car crash. I really feel like we'd see a car crash. Think it still is? Yeah. I really think we'll see a car crash because we haven't seen Max back yet. You know, Justin dropped Max. No one has dropped Max before. Justin dropped him.
Yeah.
Fighting Justin Gaethje is different. And people are very rarely ever the same. And we might flash forward to October, see Ilia Topuria knock out Max Holloway and go, the curse of Justin Gaethje still exists. He lost, and Max got that iconic knockout, but the damage he took in moments in that fight maybe are still prevalent. I don't know. I hope not, because I just want to see Max do absolutely insane things in October.
Fucking love Dan Hooker, man.
Oh man, I just you can't not love that time when I can't remember who he was fighting, but then he stayed over and fought Islam Makhachev on just like 10
didn't go
days
home in
lockdown
or something, did he?
He was in lockdown, so he had to spend like 40 days in isolation away from his family. You saw bits of like the family being a distance away from him outside like a fence where he was in these lockdown hotels and all this kind of stuff. And it was heartbreaking at times for him not to see his daughter in the way that, you know, you would want him to, especially after a hard fight. And he took that fight against Islam on short notice. And he's so game to fight. And then he puts on fights against like Dustin Poirier and Paul Felder and all these people. And you're just like, yeah, you can't, whoever's an MMA fan that doesn't love Dan Hooker, I've not met them yet, and I just don't understand. I don't think they exist.
If there's going to be a dogfight, you want him in it because it's going to be just thrills all the way.
He's just exciting, man. He's just fun to watch. He's just an insane
fucking
guy.
Savage, mate.
Yeah, he's great. Everything about him is great. And he's not controversial outside of the cage either. He's not getting into trouble for saying stupid stuff as far as I'm aware. So,
mate, it's like, I mean, obviously, if you're new to this show, go check the archives out. We had Dan Hooker on ahead of his fight with Arnold Allen, and the back and forth in the most sweetest way between Arnold Allen and Dan Hooker. That Arnold's nan was worried about him fighting Dan Hooker because he looked big. We asked Dan Hooker to kind of reassure Nana Allen, which was lovely, and it was wonderful. Such a nice guy as well. I mean, so yeah, good night for City Kickboxing bar Izzy. Obviously, Kai and Dan getting the win. Another Aussie fighting on home turf. Was Tai Tuivasa, and
this fight didn't live up to the billing, did it?
Fucking hell, no.
No.
I mean, one ref was excited by it. One judge, sorry.
What was that about?
I could not believe that. I don't know if Ty's even commented on that post fight because, like, but obviously we're talking about Tai Tuivasa versus Rosenstrike. I thought. I just thought it'd be more fun. I thought, do you know what? Tai couldn't get near him, and I don't think he could work him out. And I think he was out of range for most of the fight. You know, when Tai gets clipped and hurt, that's when he gets exciting as well, and that's when he bites down and throws. We saw little snippets of that, but not enough. And I just thought it was quite a boring fight.
It definitely didn't live up to the billing. I think round one, Tai just couldn't get going. He couldn't figure Rosenstrike out. And again, he sort of played into his hands because these slow-paced, rangy kickboxing fights, that's Jairzinho's world. Yeah. That's what he wants to do. So he gave round one away for my money a little bit. And then round two, he was doing a lot better. He was still getting hit, but he was doing a lot better, and he was making it a bit uglier. But then he landed that kick that seemed to really damage his foot. And then Rosenstrike swarmed him for a few seconds and, you know, obviously won the round in those moments. And then it just felt like in the third round, Jairzinho wasn't going to get drawn into these sloppy contests.
He knew
he did what he needed to do to win.
Yeah.
He picked him apart with jabs and moments. Tai, for me, just needed to up the pace of the fight and close that distance. And, easier said than done, especially at heavyweight.
Yeah.
But that's what we've seen from Tai before. And I think Tai... 5-fight losing streak now.
Is that what it is now?
5-fight losing streak, yeah. It's not great. I mean, I don't think the UFC will cut him because I don't think people massively care about whether Tai wins or loses or even who he fights. I think they go, oh, Tai's fighting. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. We might see a shoey. And that is all people care about. So they won't get rid of him because he's still exciting, doesn't matter how many he's lost, I think. But I really hope the UFC matchmake him really, really favourably over the next couple of fights that he has. I want to see Tai get back in the win column, regain some confidence, because I think a Tai of old would have just known that he can't just do a lazy kickboxing match with Jairzinho. He needs to swarm forward and up the pace of the fight. Even if he's just got one round in him, just go for it. Because usually with Tai, when he connects, you're done. Yeah. Unless you're Sergey Pavlovich.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just...
I'd like in that third round him to have kind of just thought, I've just got to go for it. Because I'm 2 rounds down.
Maybe his foot was compromised.
He was 3 rounds up in one scorecard.
Well, let's talk about that. One judge scored this 30-27 to Tai.
Yeah.
Thankfully, that judge was then removed from duties.
Yeah.
They said that on the broadcast. He's been removed. He was going to judge the co-main event.
Yeah.
He's now been maybe ejected from the arena. I don't know what was happening, but he's gone.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that precedent has been set.
Yeah, that was fucking ridiculous.
I don't know how you get 30-27 Tai. Yeah. Like, it's not... I just don't understand it. Unless, I mean, could he have just marked the wrong boxes? Like, is he that... Has he made that much of a mistake? That he's gone, 30-27 to Rosenstrike, but he's done it in the wrong column. And then he's like, oh, shit, I've done it in the wrong column. Like, I don't know, I've mixed up blue for red. I don't know. Like, I just don't know how you've done it. It's stupid. Well, yeah, 100%. And you should be relieved of your duties because that level of incompetence is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I just don't understand it. This isn't boxing. This isn't, I really liked his movement in the ring or the control or any of this kind of stuff. No. We have a scoring criteria that people have to follow, and damage is the most important. That's the number one. Only if damage is equal do you go down to all the other things. Sure. And very rarely is damage actually equal. And it certainly was never equal in this fight. So I don't know how on earth the guy got 30-27 for Tai Tuivasa, but rightly he was relieved of his duties for the rest of the night. And I'm glad that precedent has been set, and hopefully we won't get silly mistakes like that happening again in future.
And I don't really think there was any real winners in this fight. I don't think we're going to see Tai probably drop out of the top 10. Jairzinho move into the number 10 spot. Yeah. I don't think the UFC is going to be excited about Jairzinho after that fight.
Heavyweight outside of the top 5 is a bit meh.
Yeah.
Really. It's not, there's no one coming through right now that you go, oh, yes, they're really exciting or whatever. You know, you've got your Tom Aspinall, obviously, John Jones, Curtis Blades, maybe a bit of Gelton Almeida, Cyril Gane. Maybe you throw Volkov in there.
Mate, Volkov's ranked number 3. He's ranked a lot higher than Gelton Almeida.
I know, but I'm just kind of like, Tom's already dealt with him so easily. It just, I don't know. But it's heavyweight's not deep with its talent at the moment. This was spectacular. Boom. Carlos Pratez really, really brought it in that fight with Li Jingliang. Was it second round knockout? He got him. I don't think Li Jingliang has been knocked out before.
Yeah.
Phenomenal stuff.
Hurt him and
throughout the fight.
Yeah, and then basically, I'm not saying he could have been stopped any earlier, but he was just being teed up on one, and then basically the big shot just put him away. It was like
he came out and was really feeling himself in round 2 as well, wasn't he? He was flowing, he was relaxed, he was mucking about a little bit. He was really into it. He saw everything. Round 1, he got kicked in the leg a lot and then fixed that problem in round 2, which again just makes me go, oh, you've got a good corner and you're able to take these kind of like these notes and implement them in the next round where you're like, mate, you've got to stop getting kicked in the leg. Yep, okay, round 2, didn't really get kicked in the leg much and was just putting it on the leash.
I just quickly moving. Is there anything else you want to talk about in this fight?
I couldn't understand who he called out. I didn't.
No,
quite
it cut the thing off when he called him out on the.
I don't know who it was, but he said before a ranking, so it was someone unranked. I'm not sure, but man, this guy looks great. And I tell you what, I think he's part of that Fight Nerds crew. They are smashing it. I hadn't heard of Fight Nerds until about 6 months ago, 5 months, whatever it was. But Kyle Borralho, Gene Silva, who's smashing it at the moment, and now Carlos Pratez. I mean, yeah, man, that team is looking phenomenal right now.
See, I missed the Junior Taffa fight. I was driving home from work. I've since on the socials seen the heel hook. Tell me what happened afterwards then, because I've not seen any of this.
So, all right. So the fight went that Taffa seemed to land a couple of decent strikes on him earlier on. Walter Walker was like, oh, screw this. I'm not enjoying this at all. Took him down and eventually got the heel hook. Taffa didn't tap.
Verbal tap, wasn't it?
And he didn't shout tap. He just screamed out in pain at one point, which my understanding is if you do that, that is a verbal tap.
Yeah.
That does seem harsh to me. Like, I mean, I just picture myself in a position where someone's like trying to break my arm or leg and I'll be like, oh God.
Yeah.
Like, but that doesn't mean you would have tapped, you know? So I don't like that, but I suppose that's the rules that people are going in knowing that's what it is. If you scream out in pain, that is a tap. But I don't like that. I would like for someone to shout tap.
Yeah.
Rather than just, or stop, something like that, rather than just screaming out in pain. Because maybe something's uncomfortable, you've jarred something, it doesn't, but you're still in it, you don't want to give up on the fight. So I don't like that, but that seems to be the rule. So Junior Taffa has no one to blame but himself, because if that's the rules, you just got to deal with it.
I did not know that. I did not know that was the rules.
That's what I'm hearing. I'd love for someone to tell me otherwise.
Shout tap. It's like...
I would rather it be you shout tap or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe
because when we go to that specialist club that me and you go to, where we get the gimp masks on and they hit our bums with them paddles and that, we will scream and scream and scream.
This
but
is
until
not
we say
the
that
platform
safe word
to be talking about those club nights, Stu Whiffen.
It's a safe word.
If you do want to join, then hit us up on the socials. Yeah, and then afterwards, I think Junior Taffa was very upset about the fact that the fight had been stopped. Again, if those are the rules, I don't know why.
But what's the alternative? It would have literally just had his leg ripped to shreds.
Maybe not. I don't know. We see people in those situations deep, and it doesn't happen. Yeah, I mean that is insane. But yeah, but anyway, that's just what happened. And then Junior Taffa went over to him. He was clearly unhappy about it, and he gave him a little slap around the face. And it wasn't like hard, but it was petulant and childish. And it was a bit like, and as far as I'm aware, I'd have to check. Is he maybe 1-3 in the UFC now? And he's just slapped someone in the face. Again, not hard, but he's done it. He's only 5-3, his record. And he's 1-3 in his 4 UFC fights, lost his last 2, just slapped someone post the fight finishing.
It could be Junior Tata.
Yeah, very good. Junior Tata. Walter Walker, on the other hand, you know, did well to get the win in the first round and then called out the brother, called out Justin Taffa. Which you're like, well, that's a little storyline there. He wants vengeance. There'll probably be a bit of beef, some stuff going on.
That's a smart call out, that.
That's a smart call out. So he's called out the brother, who, again, stylistically is probably a very good matchup for him because as soon as he gets him to the ground, it'll probably be all done and dusted. Culibao Ramos was a really decent fight on that card. Ramos winning by split decision, I did not see coming because the first round, Ramos got really hurt by a low kick, but then Coulibaly seemed to rush in and then be just nearly got submitted on a couple of occasions for a rear naked choke. So I think that round went to Ramos. Second round, Coulibaly was smashing him left, right, and centre, and was smashing him up with leg kicks. Like Ramos could barely stand up at points. And then he just seemed to not go in for the kill as much as he should have done. And then it was a close third round. Maybe could have gone either way, but Ramos won it by split decision. And you're just like, I don't know, Coulibaly he rushed in too much in round one and gave up a good position and got himself in trouble. But round two, he maybe didn't have that killer instinct enough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and he lost the fight, which is a real shame for him. But there you go.
Another decision win for Scotland's Casey O'Neill.
Really good.
Yeah.
She looked great.
Yeah.
This was one of the best she's looked in a long while.
Great celebration.
Yes, the Ray Gun celebration. The Aussie breakdance or whatever you call it from the Olympics.
Yeah.
Gave it a bit of that, which I loved. She was great. She was striking well. She was grappling at the end. She
needed that win.
Yeah, she really needed that win.
Yeah.
But she looked better than ever, and she's changed her camp. She's now at Fight Ready. Is that Cejudo's camp, I believe? Fight Ready down in Arizona, maybe. So that might be a good fit for her.
Did you see the Jack Jenkins fight?
Yeah, boy. Oh, my God. Herbert Burns was just getting beat from pillar to post.
Yeah.
3 rounds. Body getting ripped.
Cracking
I mean,
scrap,
I've not really made loads of notes other than just Jenkins was battering him.
Yeah,
left, right,
absolutely.
and
Got to finish in the third as well.
Got the finish in the third.
And,
Yeah.
All in all,
go on.
decent card.
All in all, a decent card, particularly the last kind of like 3 fights on it. I mean, actually, it's only the Thai fight that was a little bit dull on the main card. Pratez was still really good. Good card, really good card. I'm not sure what the fight is this weekend. I don't know what's going on.
Let me have a look.
So, yeah. But I wonder how long have we been going?
An hour.
An hour. I was about to say, should we have a little delve into 307 or chat about that? But we've kind of done bits of that on this already.
25th is Cannonier versus Borrello.
That's good. I really like Borrello. That is a really interesting fight.
Angela Hill on the undercard there. Magny is on the undercard. Shabazian.
That's not a bad fight night card.
Yeah, it's
not too shabby.
Not too bad at all.
Yeah, and I'm really interested in that middleweight fight, especially because, all right, we've got a little bit of a backlog at the top. We've got Hamzat, we've got Strickland, we've got Rob Whittaker, but Cannonier has got a claim to have a fight for the belt, especially if he beats Borrello. And that would be a fresh matchup for Dricus. So that could be something that happens. I don't think it will, because I think they've got too many stars higher up the rankings that are above him.
Yep.
Or just, bigger names, whatever. But it's a fight that will matter eventually. And Borrelio's been looking good lately. I'm really interested to see how Borrelio gets on. Again, one of those fight nerd guys.
Absolutely. Then following week, we've got Burns versus Brady. Should be a good fun fight.
That'd be a great fight.
And then Saturday the 15th, it's the Sugarman versus Marab. And I'm feeling that.
Do we want to briefly mention anything on UFC 307, which was announced?
Yes.
So, I mean, we've spoken about the fact that it's a weird situation for Roundtree to be getting the title shot, and it is so harsh on Magomed Ankalaev. But we spoke about this on our last, I don't know what episode it was either the last one or one before, that 307 needed something. 307 was looking quite bare if Raquel Pennington and Juliana Pena were the main event of that.
Stacked now, mate.
And now it's looking very, very different. You've got Aljamain Sterling, Movsar Evloev on there, which is a fascinating fight. I am really that might be the fight I'm looking forward to most on the whole card.
Wonderboy, Joaquin Buckley.
That is really interesting because it's so hard to deal with Wonderboy, but Joaquin Buckley is very athletic, very good striker, and he's implemented a little bit of takedowns as well, like he did with Luque. That's going to be a really good fight. Jose Aldo, Mario Bautista. It's a weird booking. I'd love to see Aldo fight like a Dominic Cruz or fight someone like that. But hey, I'm never going to moan too much about seeing Jose Aldo because I love him. The only problem with this is it's Salt Lake City, man. It's that high altitude elevation thing again. And that's what did Aldo last time when he's fighting Merab. I know Mario Bautista is not Merab, but come on,
no
guys.
one's going to know about that any more than Jose Aldo, so I'm sure that will be
You would hope he's
massively
training
into
at
his prep.
elevation and doing all those things.
Did you mention Delidze versus Kevin Holland on that card?
No, that's a fascinating
Yeah.
fight, really good fight. Again, I wanted to see Kevin Holland fight Shara Bullet. That's the fight I want for Kevin Holland. Kayla Harrison, Ketlin Vieira, again, sure. Like, maybe they're just making sure that Kayla Harrison can make 135 regularly before they give her a title shot. But also, it does set up a really nice moment if you wanted to. If Kayla wins and then she gets, you know, showered and dressed quickly, gets through post-fight stuff, and then she can just get there ringside for Pennington Pena, that would be great. And then I'd like to see her brought into the octagon and do the face-off after the Pennington Pena fight. And in terms of making that fight more interesting, or at least the build-up to that fight more interesting, I'm wanting a Pena win. I want to see Pena and Kayla Harrison face-to-face in the middle of that octagon before the main event. And I think that'll be really fun. What else is on that card? Marina Rodriguez is on that card. Carla Esparza. There's some good stuff. Good stuff on that card. That card now has become very interesting when at one point you were like, Jesus, this needs all the help.
Yeah.
And now I'm interested in quite a few fights on that card. So that should be really good. And then main event, Alex Pereira. I mean, how does he keep doing it? He's just, you know, avoiding Ankalaev, not necessarily purposefully, but it's just the way the cookie has crumbled, the way things have worked out.
Ankalaev's on 308, isn't he? I think he's fighting
He's fighting Rakic, in October. But there's just who knows what's going to happen. But I wouldn't be surprised if Pereira leads it. I mean, Pereira's got a shout for being fighter of the year this year with everything he's done. What was it? Beating Jamal Hill at 300, Yuri Prohazka 303, Roundtree 307. He's got a good shout to be fighter of the year, man.
Who else would you give that to?
Max Holloway if he beats Topuria.
If he beats Topuria, yeah. Like,
You could give it to Topuria if he beats Max, to be fair. Beat Volk and Max in the same year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the winner of that fight could be a fighter of the year. Otherwise, it's probably Pereira.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I don't think anyone's going to complain about that.
No, he's been fun.
Well, look, we will be back next week with another show. In the meantime, if you need a fix of us talking all things MMA, go and explore the archives because, we've had everyone on. We've had a real who's who of the UFC and other organisations guests on this show over the years. So go and get stuck in. If you want to hear some Aussies, as I said in the show, go check out our chat with Dan Hooker. Also,
He's from New Zealand.
It's all right. Just do this all the time, don't I?
They're not the same.
I know. We've had Alexander Volk. He's an Aussie. We've had Volk on a few times, so go check out our chats with Volk. And yeah, I mean, a real who's who. So go get stuck into that. And while you're over there, click subscribe. Give us a follow on the socials. We're doing all right on the old TikTok, which ain't too bad for a couple of old granddads.
Is it
like
kicking
us.
off?
It's kicking off, mate.
Kicking off on TikTok.
And so go give us a follow over on TikTok and Instagram, of course. And we are also on X and Facebook. So give us a little like, love, share, and a follow over there. And and other than that, I think all we need to say is we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.